On average, I think it was $5,000 to $7,000 for a nurse to self-fund to go to a conference in Australia. That's just not okay. Like, education in this industry is so important for safety and for growth. And even though you want to grow and you want to educate, there's nowhere for you to access it. It was about 6 months of knocking on doors that no one would answer. And I went to Mike and asked him if he would sponsor, and then the doors started to open when a doctor's title was attached. I'd say the biggest hurdle was just trying to get anyone to have any investment in me, really. It was like Fire Festival. It didn't actually exist. I was trying to sell something. It was also really important for me to factor in business. A lot of these nurses are running business and doctors are running businesses, and being good at one side of that coin doesn't necessarily make you good at the other.
Welcome to Inside Aesthetics, the world's leading podcast for cosmetic practitioners and business owners.
Our podcasts are aimed at medical professionals and should not be used to make medical, legal, or financial decisions. You should get an appropriately tailored piece of advice from a professional in your country.
To show your support and stay up to date with our latest episodes, click the follow button if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you're watching our episodes on YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon.
If you're interested in joining our online community, being a guest on the podcast, or would like to work with us, all of our contact details are in the show notes. And now, let's jump into today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Inside Aesthetics, the world's leading podcast for injectors and cosmetic businesses. Now, this is going to be a fun one, David.
It is. It's always chaotic. Jess has just had all of her thoughts about us have all just disappeared into the toilet after the level of unprofessionalism. There's stuff everywhere. Jake and I are tearing each other's eyeballs out. So has it been eye-opening for you?
It's seeing behind the curtain at the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
The Emperor has no pants. Or is it clothes?
Bad.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's fun.
So, your name's Jessica Ferris, a registered nurse from Western Australia here in Australia. So, for people that don't really know where Perth is, you're about 6 hours flight west of Sydney. So, you're all the way on the other side of the country.
Yep.
And we're going to talk to you today about an amazing business that you've just built over the last 2 years. It's called AAS, which is the Australian Aesthetic Symposium. And this is your brainchild, your baby that you've created to essentially bring a high-level conference education to the Perth community. So for people that don't know, Perth's it's not as busy as some of the other major cities in Australia. It's a long way from, you're actually closer to Asia than you are to the rest of Australia. And sometimes you guys get forgotten about because you're not a huge city like Sydney or Melbourne. Yeah. And so you embarked on this journey, this challenge that you put to yourself a couple of years ago to create a conference that was just for the Perth practitioners, doctors and nurses, because Perth has been growing. It has becoming a more popular city. It has had a lot of people move there, especially since COVID. And so we wanted to get you on to talk about, your background, your experience, what it's like to build a conference. Because if you think about all the conferences around the world, like your IMCASs, your AMWCs, they're huge organizations run by, teams of people and huge budgets and funding behind them. And you've essentially done this all on your own with your business partner, Mike, who I know you're going to talk about. But that's really the premise of today, is to give people an understanding of you, what it's like to build a conference. And, we're Australian. You're kind of Australian.
I am now,
Yeah. I mean, well, obviously
as much as Jake is.
Yeah. And I think that Jake and I recognise that, doing what you've done is a big challenge, and we want to, support our fellow Australians and people that are taking chances and trying to create something that hasn't been done before. So that's really what we wanted to talk about today. Did you want to add anything to that, Jake?
No, I don't think Perth is 6 hours away. You always add a few hours.
No, he's very dramatic about
4.5,
how far
right?
away. It's 4 one way, 5 another. Depends which way
on
you're
wind.
Flying. I think it's 5 on the way there, actually.
But it is the most isolated city in the world. So you are kind of on your own.
Look, even if you do live in Australia, but for people outside of Australia, when I'm asked back home what it's like to live in Australia, I have to point out that I don't live. I live in Western Australia. As well as being on that side of the country, even within our state, we're huge. Yeah. So we can fly, we say, whenever we refer to WA, we say Perth, but Perth is not WA. We've got clinics hours and hours flights away, north and south of that. Yeah. And our Pilbara region as well. So it's an enormous state for anyone to try and take care of from the brand reps up. And we didn't have anything there. I was going to your IMCASs, which I love, and international conferences, and I started looking into, I should probably go to a local one this year. And when I figured out how difficult it was and how expensive it was, on average, I think it was $5,000 to $7,000 for a nurse to self-fund to go to a conference in Australia. Yeah. And that's just not okay. Like, education in this industry is so important for safety and for growth. And it can be really scary being on your own out there. And then imagine being in a remote place on top of that. And even though you want to grow and you want to educate, there's nowhere for you to access it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the idea came from, was when I was first looking. I was lucky enough that I could have funded that. But you add in, if you're a small clinic as well and you've got a couple of nurses, are you closing the clinic doors? Who are you choosing to take with you? And then how do you justify that amount on return on investment? Like, it just, and people weren't. The education just wasn't happening, and the growth in community in WA compared to what you guys have over East was nothing.
Yeah, and also jet lagging yourself at the same time.
Yeah, like, it's crazy. I definitely recover flying in from London better than Sydney, because when you do a conference, you hit the ground running. So you want to get like the least time away from work, or if you're closing your doors especially, you land, you're learning the whole weekend. So it's a different type of like draining. And then you're getting the first flight back, or, you know, after a gala dinner in the morning, and you're going straight back into clinic again. So it absolutely wrecks you. It's not a vacation.
Yeah. So before we get into the story of the AAS creation, let's find out a little bit more about you, because
Sure.
I detect an accent that's not Australian.
Yeah, right.
So can you just tell us a little bit about your background, you know, what
Yeah.
brought you to Australia? And then obviously, you know, apart from being, you know, an entrepreneur now, you're actually a cosmetic injector working within someone else's business. I think it's Dr. Kate Jameson from Youth Lab. You work with her.
Yes, I do. We love our Youth Lab team. I
Yeah.
love Kate. So, yeah, I moved from the UK. I wasn't a nurse when I moved over here. My first degree was in event management.
That's come in handy, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's funny. I have 3 degrees. My dad would rage, like, if you go and do another degree. And they seemed quite unrelated, but my background was first degree event management, second degree was teaching, and then I have my nursing degree, and now I actually do use all 3. So there was method to my madness at the time. But when I came out to Perth 15 years ago, there wasn't an event to manage. There was not a lot happening in WA. So I just worked in nightlife really, and then pivoted. Always ran like little things on the side.
Side hustles.
And my mum and cousins all had like beauty businesses back at home. And when I looked, what does it take to do a bit of Botox? Well, you actually need a nursing degree in Australia, which is great. And I did the master's pathway and then graduated, and controversially was straight into cosmetics.
Right, okay. And how'd you end up at Youth Lab?
So when I was really like committed to going all in on AAS, and I knew the amount of work it was going to take running another full-time job, I wanted like a really beautiful lock and key clinic that I could just walk into and like not do anything besides my job really well. And that's what I get at Youth Lab. It's like the Gucci of clinics. It's really close to home. I walk in, I inject, and I leave, and it's just all set up for me. And then that allowed me to do the amount of work that it took to get AAS off the ground for first year. It was about 18 months of work before our first conference.
Right. Okay.
So it was a lot.
And who taught you how to inject? Like, where was your original education?
Yeah, so when I graduated, I was shadowing a doctor in Perth. He was great. And then COVID came. So I went to work as a GP nurse and just told the doctor that my interest was in cosmetics. And when the restrictions were lifted, could I do a little bit of tox? I think I was doing like tox and lips. From a back room at this GP basically, and he was like, yeah, go for it. And then I would just book training sessions with like independents to learn cheeks, and like really staged myself to try and be as safe as possible, because I was really to be honest flying blind, but invested doing as much learning as I could anatomy wise on my own, until that was probably about 12 months of having that like behind me, and then applied to cosmetic only clinics and moved into full-time cosmetics.
Yeah, well, we showcased Kate a couple of years ago on the business of injecting. So
I've listened to her pod.
So check it out if you guys haven't listened to that. So, okay, so you've been injecting for years, and then obviously this idea of AAS starts forming in the back of your mind. So what was the trigger where you thought, I've got to do this?
Another doctor, tongue-in-cheek, when I started looking, and I was like, this is crazy, because a group of us were going to go to a conference together. She said, well, you have an events background, why don't you just run one? And I was like, and then like I'm like all of us, I think, have an ADHD side. So then at night I was just looking and researching and kind of doing that due diligence of what would it take, what would the cost be, what are the others doing, I like reached out to see like what was the exhibition side, like how does it even work to make an aesthetics conference, and would that even be possible?
Yep.
And then once I decided like, yeah, I am going to go all in, I just grew it from the ground up. So I created like the logos and a little like exhibitor manual, and was trying to get sponsors, like a sponsorship package that I just put together, kind of guessing really figures I would come in and basing it on what the bigger conferences were charging for their figures, and just kind of worked it out that way. It was about 6 months of knocking on doors that no one would answer. Then I went to Mike and asked him if he would sponsor. Dr. Mike Gendy is my business partner, and then the doors started to open when a doctor's title was attached.
Right.
And we made first year happen.
So what's your relationship with Mike, and what's his part of the business?
I met Mike in Sydney at a Galderma event, I think. Didn't know him in Perth, and then after the event stayed in touch and just hung out socially for years, just became like a close friend of mine. Mike originally started in GP. He owns a chain of GPs across Australia, or across WA, I should say. And a bunch of the boys were all English as well. And we just all used to go out on a Sunday and get a roast, really.
Yeah.
And
Get a roast. Is that
It's a very British thing on a Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, go for a Sunday roast.
Okay. Yorkies, all the rest
Yeah,
of
and
it.
it was nice. And that just became my like little family, really. So when I approached Mike I intentionally waited before I asked Mike, because I didn't want Mike to give me pity sponsorship. So actually, as I was about like, this isn't going to take off, there's nothing I can do, for someone who I really respected in business to be like, oh no, this plan is great, I want to come in. That was kind of, as well as his name opening doors, it just gave me like the motivation, like I wasn't delusional, and we will keep going with it.
Having a good business partner can change everything.
Everything. And we're so differently spaced. Like he looks at things from a doctor point of view, and then also he thinks a lot bigger than me because of his growth. He's got like 38, I think he just hit with his GPs. So
wow. 38 clinics or 38 GPs?
38 GP clinics.
Oh, okay. That's a lot.
That's significant, yeah.
And then he has his cosmetic side as well, mole scan and dentist. So his mindset for scale and growth was much more out of the box than mine. And then he also thinks of things from a doctor's perspective as well, whereas everything for me was coming from trying to support the smaller scale nurses, and like, what do we want when we go to a conference? Because cost-wise, it's a different percentage of return on investment for most doctors to nurses.
That's a good point. Everyone's talking about conference fatigue at the moment, and you've presumably been to conferences. I've been to lots of conferences, and there's a risk that they all become the same, same type of speakers or topics. So how have you tried to circumnavigate that and make it, fresh?
Yeah, well, I think for us, being independent is huge. I do feel like there's conferences I've gone to where I've bought a ticket, but I feel like I'm at a paid advertisement, and it just isn't fair. It's different if you're hosted by a brand, but otherwise we've tried to keep it really independent. So especially first year, we wanted to highlight the local community as well. That's what it was all about. So it was genuine opinions, not really product-based, a lot more technique-based. It was also really important for me to factor in business. A lot of these nurses are running business, and doctors are running businesses, and being good at one side of that coin doesn't necessarily make you good at the other. So I figured if you could go at the price point we've tried to get it, and you get one great little snippet of, sometimes honestly it's even just the way someone holds a syringe for me, I'm like, oh wow, that's great. Especially as you're more experienced as injecting, like you've got the base stuff down. It will be the little tidbits. If they could get that, if they could get one bit of advice for the business, and then if they can make one friend or one connection to grow that community so they're not out there flying blind or know when to bounce ideas off, then that would be like a really fair, and obviously have fun as well.
Yeah. Okay, so you've come up with the concept, you've, gone to Mike, you've now got a business partner on board. So how did you then start to craft what the conference would actually look like? What would it feel like? How was that planning?
So it's like very staged when you're putting an event together. So you have to have like a really clear kind of time frame of things. So before that came together, it was making it exist. And in order to do that, it was finances. So the first point of call was to get reputable brands and big enough brands to come on that we're going to fund it to make it happen. then I could look at, okay, let's tailor this timetable to be a bit different and be as independent as we could. And actually, I think our talks were 80% independent first year. Like it was it was not heavy on the branded talks. I mean, partly because we didn't have that many sponsors either. So that was great. I also really capped the exhibition side of things. I don't want it to feel like you're walking in and you're lost because there's 200. That's just not what it's about. But like it really just my whole way through, my focus was on making it for the delegate because that's like what I was creating it for in the first place. And so I was just serving myself essentially and coming from that point of view always.
So people listening might be saying, hold on, it's independent, not technically sponsored, but then the people who did sponsor it kind of funded it. So who's paying for what? And you know, what numbers are we talking here to set up a conference?
Well, just depends what you're going to do in the conference. To have a base level conference, like 160, 180.
Right. And that's for venue and AV.
That's your venue, your gala dinner, your catering throughout, your AV. There's so many details. Your insurance, you've got to have first aid because we do hands-on injectable workshops. So we have first aid on site, beauty beds. Like there's the details that run down the list that you don't think of when you're first running a conference. Are you going to do any paid advertising? Like all of those things, your social media, your website. Like startup costs are quite big.
It's like planning the biggest wedding,
it's like a Greek wedding.
You've ever done.
Yeah.
So 160 to 180 to get just
you can spend, like you said, it's like a wedding. You could go 300. Are you going to have a live band and this was the other thing as well. And I'm absolutely, every conference has its value, but as well as the cost of going over, they were starting to become like Met Galas. Like I don't know why in our industry we're expected to all carry like Hermes. Like I'm not actually Richard Branson. I don't have a private jet. I don't know why we're expected to be like so uber glam. Sitting here uber glam, but
got your Gucci brooch on. Gucci brooch.
Well, because it matches the watch.
Yeah.
So I had to get the set. But it was just like, this is insane. So we are glam in Perth, but I really wanted to keep it more that vibe. But you could have it nuts. You could have people singing as you walk through that. And people do. You know, people want a point of difference, but I didn't want the point of difference to be the social media pictures from our gala dinner. Yeah. Whilst they were great.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. Okay. So then what's the next step from there? So your budget, the money, you know, you sort of start to then do like a kind of chicken or egg kind of scenario because you need to make sure you've got the people on board. You're going to be able to sell tickets. You've got the sponsor. So how do you kind of balance that between, you know,
just a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You have to just really hope that it's a build that they will come.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think being on the inside of the community in WA for both Mike and I, and he's certainly been available for a lot of doctors when they've had questions or needed help with things. So those favors really just all came back to us in the nicest way. And so many people spread the word, bought tickets, brought the whole clinic, spoke. Just for the community. So it was really empowering to see that it was what the community wanted and they really all came together for it. But yeah, you don't know. That money could have been gone, or all the sponsors could be stood there twiddling their thumbs as a tumbleweed rolls by and like no one's in the, that's a risk. That's the risk everyone takes starting a business. So it might not take off.
Yeah. Well, how do you explain the return on investment for these sponsors? Because we've often asked this, you know, the bigger these conferences get, the more money that gets thrown by the sponsors to be there. They build this stand, this booth, all their staff are there.
Yeah.
They're obviously not engaging with other customers around the country when they're all there. So it's a big hit for them.
Well, two things really. We do cap what we're charging. So for example, some of the bigger conferences, for the same thing, they're paying 4 to 5 times as much.
Yeah.
So those conferences were able to do that because they are so established. They're 7 years in and they were getting the numbers. But as you said, there is conference fatigue now and they're charging the same and not getting the numbers. Yeah. Essentially, a sponsor is almost paying for your delegate list.
Yes.
So for me, I just divide like people through the door per dollar charged and do I think that's fair? Also, the pockets are very big on some of these companies as opposed to others. So if I can offset some of the expense to the sponsor and make it more affordable for the delegate, then every single one of us wins, because I'm going to get more people there. They've still paid less than the bigger conferences, but for a first year to bring 142 delegates through the door, that's not small. That's close to some of the bigger, more established conferences. So I think whilst there was a lot to learn from first year, there was also a lot that we did right there. And so I think if I can just offset it fairly for both sides. Yeah. But they can't. Ultimately, you can't, unless they literally sold a laser on the day or signed up a brand new clinic on the day, which a couple people did. That's also just good luck.
Yeah, it's luck.
Like,
you can't
unless
plan
you physically do that, it would be really hard for you to give a definitive amount on your return on investment. We did have packages for delegates to have follow-up training in clinic, because that's something that isn't as easy around WA. It's really hard for a BDM to get across the whole state. So having everyone in one room and being able to be like, hey, I haven't gotten a hold of you yet, but I really want this training for my nurses. So that was easier to track, but otherwise you can't. They're doing the same as us, really. We're all going in blind and hoping that we can make the right connections and get the education across that you want to.
Okay. What do you think different about the WA community?
Definitely different.
Yeah?
Yeah,
How so?
We're definitely different. I think that, we're really isolated from you guys. So I just think that that's it. Like, that's our community. I feel like over East, you guys kind of spread around more. I've had a really positive experience with the WA community. I have found it to be really friendly and helpful and just a bit more down to earth. Having said that, I've never injected over East, so I couldn't really comment on how it is to be in the industry over here, but just coming to conferences and things, we're definitely just a bit more down to earth, I think, in WA. We're a bit more country.
Yeah. I think the smaller communities tend to foster that type of relationship. We're probably not really designed as a species to be living on top of each other. It's like it's almost like the more people are within close proximity, the less we sort of want to have to do with people, whereas smaller communities tend to be more, supportive. Everyone knows each other. Everyone wants to help each other out. There's kind of that, real community vibe, which I think gets lost in the big cities. Yeah,
I think you've hit the heart. It's a community vibe.
Yeah, that's great.
I've always wondered with WA, it's such a big place that
it's huge.
We tend to just think of Perth, but it's monster. So how are you going to get people from, I don't know, Kimberley and all these other remote places?
And this year we've got people coming from Kalgoorlie, which is Pilbara. So we've kind of got two offsets, I guess, from Perth. Perth being our capital city. And then we have our down south region, which is like beautiful green countryside, very Devonshire. And that's about a 3-hour, 4-hour drive, depending where. And we've got people from there all the way up to Perth coming, and then you fly for Pilbara. So that's like your real, I guess it would be as close to being like Alice Springs. It's very like red dust, middle of the country. Yeah. Lots of roadkill. And there are clinics up there that fly down,
Wow.
That's obviously, that's significantly easier.
Yeah. And did you get anyone from Asia coming across?
Yeah, we had Singapore. Singapore is easier to get to Perth than Sydney.
Yeah. That's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, and cheaper.
Every time I fly out of Australia, you might have a doze or a meal or something, and you look at your watch, and you're like, I'm not even at fucking Australia. It's like 4.5 hours.
Here's another one. It's actually faster to get to New Zealand from Sydney than it is to get to Perth from Sydney.
Yeah, I didn't realise I met a girl this morning said it's 3 hours for her to get. It's like, if you can go direct, it's 8, but we have to usually stop at Sydney.
Yeah.
So that
We're
is
a big country. We're a big country.
We're huge, yeah.
And not a lot of people. It's low population density, a lot of desert. So when it comes to designing like a program for a conference, obviously you mentioned the importance of including things like business, because it is kind of like this glaring hole that hasn't been filled before. But how do you go about designing a program overall? What's in your mind when you're trying to make things different and work out which speakers you're going to bring out, like what's topical and so on? Yeah.
So obviously there were some that were brands that had paid to be there essentially, and they were sharing information. And then I just get to cherry pick what I like because it's my conference. So I just think about like what was valuable to me, what I'd like to see more of. Our industry changes so quickly now, like every 6 months. I don't think it's just conference fatigue. I think it's product fatigue. We went so long we were so excited when I think like Profilo came, and then over 2 years it was like a tox for every day of the week, and all these new products, which we used to be so excited about. And even I'm like, oh my God, I've got to learn something else. Yeah. So I think with that change, I was like, what do I want to... Also, you're busy, right? You're busy in practice. So I'm not always, what's the newest compliance or what's the latest with this? So I'm like, hey, if I can put it all in one room and just make everybody's life easier. So just focused on new stuff that I was interested in. From everything like last year, because this is a question I get asked a lot in practices about it, when people can have facelifts if they've had sculpture, and I would always get a different answer. And so I brought someone in to talk about that. We had a plastic surgeon there for that. We all dealt with GLP-1 face over the last couple of years. So I had a bariatric surgeon in explaining what was actually going on under there. So it's just basically me picking everyone's brain on stuff that I wanted to know, questions that I get asked as an injector, and then questions that I have. So I was very led with that. And then I had Mike, who would bring in things that he felt were of relevance. And because we are night and day, that just basically merged and curated what we wanted.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome to uninvite David and I if you are, having spent the last 2 hours of seeing what clouds we are behind the scenes.
No, you were my picks. We loved having David last year. And actually the business segment last year was really popular. So we doubled it this year.
Great.
And then you get the feedback when I send out my little post questionnaires. And it's surprising sometimes who you think is going to be super popular in the room's not for. Vascular occlusion is always a good one. Dr. K actually had a fantastic vascular occlusion, or she fantastically resolved it. And she was really gracious to come and share. It was a really good temple one. And we all want to watch that because we all want to learn what we would do.
Yeah.
So VO is always really popular. Safety is really popular. Compliance and business is really popular. Mike did a really good chat on, now we're seeing like gender isn't always relevant to injecting and how we cater for that as well. Like if there's a male client that wants feminization, or we're trying to help someone with their body dysphoria, and where does that lie? We had a clinical psychologist come and talk about that element of keeping our patients safe. So we're so rich and diverse and broad with what we have to deal with. It is not about a syringe in your hand. Like almost that's become the smallest part of our job now.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like, I can't remember if we spoke about it on a podcast or not, but live injecting. I mean, will you showcase live injecting?
I'm anti-live injecting.
Yeah.
We do have workshops there, but they are small, experienced. You have to do a certain level, and they're run through in a private room.
Yeah.
With models, the same way that you would do it in clinic training. I have never really... No, that's not true. I saw a really good chin technique. We were at the same event in Sydney.
Allegan?
Yeah, last year. Something.
There's been so many.
I know.
Yeah.
But I saw a good chin technique that I liked. I don't get much from it.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed for the person. I've got like secondhand embarrassment. A lot of times they bring out like 10 mil. And if you can't make someone look better with 10 mil, I'd be surprised. I just don't get that much value from it. It doesn't seem super safe or...
It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feels like not a real scenario.
It's not something you would do in clinic. You don't have a client walk in and say, yeah, I've got $5,000.
Well, really what's missing is the purpose of the injecting is missing.
It's missing.
You don't see a consult or a rationale or a psychology side of things. It's just, we're going to do a chin today. Okay. But how does that...
And
how am I going to use that?
Yeah.
So,
and that was actually really popular. Amy came on the pod afterwards. She did her consultation.
Oh, Amy Wright? Yeah.
And she was so generous. She had like a QR code up so that people could download her consultation technique, which is something you can only learn by getting it wrong like enough times, right? And then you're like, oh, I need to tweak that. I need to change that. I need to make sure I add this. So you can't buy 15 years of knowledge, but if someone's there sharing it with you and like skipping a few years for you or skipping a few errors, I feel like AI coming into our clinics as well. We've just had so many changes and so many different angles, but no live injecting. I was looking at doing live laser for the first time this year. Mike went to a conference right after ours in Portugal where they had a laser box on stage. And I priced it and I could have had it there, but we just didn't have a laser company.
We saw some live lasering in Canada. We went to Cama, and I gotta say, it's nothing against the lasering or the technique. It's just boring to watch.
I was going to say, it's just like boring? Yeah, it would just be gimmicky.
I mean, there's no reason to do it live when you could just do a video that looks way better.
Yeah.
So
sped up time lapse maybe.
Yeah, same for injecting. Like, there's no. I don't know. Look, I'm not anti it or for it. It's just got to be done right.
I think if you're genuinely in the market to buy a laser and you have someone there who can do a live demo with you during the weekend, like the BTL are lucky because they can just bring all their EMT and like people can sit on it and have a go. And we don't get to do that really with the other products that people are selling. Yeah. So I think maybe from that point, if they were trying to sell the laser, I don't know that it gives you that much to like watch someone getting lasered.
Yeah. Now, something that is relevant for us injectors is cadaver courses.
Yes.
You guys are going to do a cadaver course, which is great because it's not easily accessible. It's often expensive, difficult to get onto. So I think you've got Dr. Lucas de Siqueira. He's a doctor from Victoria. He's Brazilian, but he's been here for many years. Great doctor, very good anatomist. So tell us about what you guys are going to showcase.
Yeah, Lucas is really good at anatomy, and that's kind of what he does. He's known for his cadaver workshops. We've never had a cadaver workshop in WA, so I'm just running with bringing all the firsts in. First time Jake Sloan's ever come to WA.
Yes.
It's another
the dead bodies just follow him everywhere.
That was really, I think, elevates the conference to being in like the big boy game now. It's, as much as the social gathering is lovely, it's not just there for the sake of being there. We're second year now, and you can't really just ride on being the first all the time. Yeah. So that was something I really was hoping, and the fact that we've been able to secure that and have it approved for the first time from UWA, which is the university it'll be held at. Very small group, and yes, they don't exist in WA. If you can get into them, they're very expensive. I've kind of tried to keep that cost as low as possible. We have to pay for the cadaver and the space and all of those things. Lucas as well does it really differently. He's really hands-on. Like, you are there solid 8 hours of learning. It's quite intense, but you are getting amongst it and getting to lift. And the way he's explained it to me, because this will also be my first time attending one, is there is so much variation. Yes, of course, learn your anatomy, but just know that every face that you lift will be different, and what he's going to show you is like depth and safety around that. So obviously it's interesting because we're all weird and we like to look under and see where all the veins and arteries and ligaments that we've been trying to support, but it's really not so much from a technique. It's about that safety, and that's ultimately what we all want.
Yeah, when you saw a little bit because you're involved in Canada. Obviously, you're not an injector, but it makes you very humble as an injector.
Yes, I can imagine.
Like, okay, I thought I knew this, but now I'm seeing it for real in 3D or even 4D if you're moving it. It's like, okay, now I need to rethink what I'm actually doing and what I thought I knew.
The way I inject now, from a safety perspective, is different. Instead of trying to know it all, I accept I know I don't. And so to cater for the unknown, which obviously is difficult, and you're going to run into that 1%, or if we're whatever our percentages are now for VO. But knowing your depth and knowing how to resolve things and knowing where things are running, I think is more important than trying to remember every single, because you just can't, and they are varied, and humans, the more you inject, you realize the more differentiation there is.
Yeah. So we spoke a little bit about, return on investment, and obviously it's an interesting space at the moment. Things are getting tight for people. I think we've got conference fatigue, as well as people going, oh, can I afford that? Is it worth my time? Am I going to get something out of it? So, I guess what would be the most important things that you'd want listeners to know who might be considering going to the conference? Like, what are they actually going to get out of their time and money by coming to, the AAS conference?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be different based on your experience and like if you're running your own clinic or like where you are in your journey. But I would sit and have a plan of like things that you don't want to miss just to chatting and having a coffee to someone at the free morning tea. Make sure you do get to the ones that you want to get to. With us being smaller as well, that community network, if there was someone that you did want to have a conversation with, that can be really easily facilitated. If there's someone that you want to talk after, or there's a question you had that you don't want to be the person in the room, make sure that you really have your motivation of this is what I want to speak to. And if you get really stuck, obviously message me and you can just come and have a chat. Like, everyone's super friendly and it's small group knit, but I would say have a plan. And if you are newer to conferences, just don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like, we're all there to learn. There'll be something that I didn't know too. So I'm like a note taker, however you do that, so that you can go home, because it's a lot of information. You don't want to forget something or kind of just give up trying to remember it. But I guess I would say stay focused, get to the chats that you do want to get to, and like, I didn't come say hi to you in Sydney because I was too shy. So just don't be that person. If there's someone you want to speak to, go up and say hi. Everyone's super friendly, it turns out.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good point. As part of our app, we've actually got a central conference diary, and you guys are on there. So if you want to check out your page, we've got all the information, how to buy tickets, all that kind of stuff. But one of the cool features of our app is, even as a free member, if you say you're going to a conference, then there are chat rooms available for people going to that conference. So I think it's as much about, gaining one or two pieces of key knowledge that you wanted to attain whilst you're there, but also networking, getting to know people, who are in your area, people you can sort of connect to, identifying mentors, people that you want to ask questions. So, yeah.
Yeah, so if you hit the RSVP button on the AAS conference, you get thrown into a secret chat. And if you're going on your own, well, now you're not on your own because you'll meet people also going to AAS. So how cool is that?
I think that's like such a great hub. It's more than just like a WhatsApp group, which I guess has or anyone had to rely on before. It's got great information. There'll be brand information on there. All the little tidbits that if you can't get hold of me will be in there. And you can do the social organising as well, which
you need to know where the after party is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I heard it was in Jake's room.
I'll be in bed. I'll be exhausted, especially jet lag.
Yeah, so if you guys want to find out more about the app, which is imminently available, I think we're a couple of weeks out from it being available in the Google and App stores, but there's a link at the bottom of this podcast in the show notes where you can get on our waiting list. So as soon as it's ready, we will send you a message and welcome you aboard.
Yeah, and go straight to the AAS space on the app and sign yourself up. We should actually mention your offer whilst we're here talking about this. What is the offer that we're going to do for you guys?
Yeah, so 20% off tickets for all IA listeners with the code IA20. You just use that at checkout. You can find tickets through Eventbrite, the website, link in the Instagram. I'm sure it'll be at the bottom of these notes. It's not hard to find.
Yeah, okay, cool. Your thing about planning is really important, actually. I've been to many, many conferences, and the day just gets away from you. You get talking to someone, you get dragged to a coffee, and suddenly you've missed that lecture, and then you sort of don't know what you're doing. So I think it's really important to look at the itinerary before, identify, 2 or 3 things that you really want to get to. And, if someone drags you away, say, I'm sorry, I've got to go to this lecture, and then just be that nerd, go to the front and actually learn. Don't sit at the back with your mates and just have a laugh. You're there to learn. So, yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, totally. So what has been the most difficult challenge with setting up the conference today? Like, what would you say would be, the hardest thing? And maybe it might be something you didn't even expect. It could have been the thing that just caught you completely off guard.
I think I did expect it. Okay. But being like just a completely unknown nurse with no credential really that they could look at. They don't know that I have an events background, and even if they did, I'm not sure that they'd be that bothered. So just trying to take a punt on like an unknown horse, really, I guess. I knew it'd be difficult. I guess it took longer and was harder, potentially. And then the small details. I mean, I'm pretty good. I'm meticulous, I would say, but there were things that I just didn't know. Or I'd get hit with things that seemed like a problem. Everything's fixable, I now feel, but at the time I would just crash out if something went wrong. With the workshop, we're not bound by skin penetration license, so there was some conflict over that, and they wanted everybody's APRA number provided coming to the conference, which that's just not possible to do. Yep. So those smaller hurdles, but I'd say the biggest hurdle was just trying to get anyone to have any investment in me, really, because it was like Fire Festival. It didn't actually exist. I was trying to sell something.
That was a good Netflix TV program if you haven't seen that. Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it wasn't.
But this won't be like that.
But it could have been. People just had to take a chance. Once Mike came on, it was easier. But even then, like you say, people are wary, even if the bigger conferences now. Can
you share anything that you learnt from last year that behind the scenes just looked chaotic, but on the day no one realised? Anything
everything the 2 things that could have gone wrong went wrong. So all of the files for the talks were not compatible with the...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Dr. Oliver DeMello is a friend of mine and had to jump on an e-scooter from the city with his laptop under his arm to home. This is 30 minutes for the conference. It's starting and delegates are there. It's like that buzz, when everyone gets there in the morning, it's fresh first day. Everyone's got their little lanyards. I'm so proud it's happening. And then he just walked out of the room ashen and says it doesn't I don't know what it was, but this is why I do in person, because anything technological, I cannot help. And I'd paid for an AV team, so you'd think they'd be all over it. But so he was on an e-scooter, and I was just tracking him as he like went home, switched laptops, got different cords, and came back to the event. So once that happened, I was like, wow, whatever. Like the worst thing that could have happened. So we started late, and then that did make us late for the whole day. But otherwise, I mean, just all the small stuff that you don't see. But you're running around like I didn't get to one talk. I didn't see one thing. I was running around the entire time.
So we went to a conference last year. We've mentioned their name, but our feedback to them was, as the organizer, you need to relax. You don't need to be organising on the day. You need to give that to someone else and delegate. So have you thought about doing that?
I have delegated so much this year. It's felt like a breeze in comparison. But the problem was, when you're the only person from beginning to end, it's really hard to delegate the end part because they haven't been there. So it's not that I wouldn't hand the baby over, but
it is
I do have on the day help. Like if you don't, I knew everyone's name that was on. It was like Erin Brockovich. I could have given you their clinic, their phone number. Like I knew that conference in the back, and I can't just download that information in someone. So this year I've stepped back from the whole project management. People have different roles. So I don't have to then the weekend before be like, hi, I just need to import 18 months of beginning to end work for you. So definitely this year I'm hoping to be schmoozing. I might have a bite of food.
Come have a drink with us at the bar.
Come have a drink. I think I lived off stress and peach monsters for 12 months.
So what's been the most rewarding part for you personally with creating this entity, this now living entity that you've created?
I think its existence I'm incredibly proud of, but I think the response of the WA community and like everyone who came together last year, and like it warmed my heart. Like so many people messaging and reaching out, can I help? Or people buying a ticket and saying it's because so-and-so told me about it. And like that was just so lovely. Not that everyone hasn't always been nice to me, but like just from the most unexpected places, people really going like above and beyond, completely off their own back. It wasn't like I was texting around trying to pull favors. Hi, can you tell everyone about my conference because I'm British? So instead I just for a long time didn't even tell anyone it was mine. They'd be like, have you heard there's a conference coming? And I'm like, yeah, it looks good. But now my name's been revealed and it's my baby. But I think that was my favorite thing. And then like standing back on the day, maybe seeing the rooms full and these people sharing, and I could hear people walking around being like, oh my God, wasn't that like talk so good? Or isn't the timetable so good? There's so many talks. And I was like, oh, they don't even know I'm right here. Thank God they weren't like, this is terrible, because I would have just been upstairs crying and told Mike I quit and I don't want to come to the gala anymore. But yeah, those moments were so special and I can't wait for the weekend this year. Last year was such a like double-edged sword of like anxiety, whereas I'm just so looking forward to it this year.
That's awesome. Yeah. So who would you say would be the best suited practitioners to come to your conference? Because, you know, there's people at different levels of skills and experience. And so sometimes people that are hyper experienced feel bored at some conferences because, you know, they know all this stuff. And then there's some people that go, oh my God, this is like over my head. I don't get it. This is too advanced.
Yeah.
And is it just injectors or who's it for? Yeah.
So we are HCP based only this year, but we are opening it up to skin next year. Okay. We already had a skin focus with laser and different talks, but honestly everyone has skin in their clinic and they should be learning, and we refer back and forth to each other, and I'm quite a skin based injector and always have been as well, so it just adds value for us to be there together. You don't want your clinic separated either. And there's a lot of skincare information as well. SkinCeuticals are there this year. What would I say? You're right. If you're experienced, sometimes I'm bored, especially if it's heavy on toxin filler. And when I was new and started going to conferences, I was so overwhelmed. I thought that I should have known more than I did. So I think from an inexperience, please don't feel that way, because the next year you go, you will know more than you did last year, and you'll also know a couple more people, and you'll feel so much more confident. Just probably stick with just one or two. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just learn one or two things. You don't need to download the entire timetable's worth of education into your head. And if you're experienced, why, like, what could you bring to the business? What is there on compliance? Is there something on that end? There's also so many new products in that we haven't even got in WA yet. So you're not going to know everything that's there, but you can focus on that networking side as well and just have a bit more of a relaxed weekend. If you're not feeling like you have to scuttle to everything and learn, you can just have a bit of a breather. There's options to do 1 or 2 days as well. You don't have to commit to the entire weekend if you don't want to take like a Friday out of clinic or vice versa.
Yeah.
So you can really pick and choose.
Now, you mentioned Dr. Lucas is going to be there. Jake and I are going to be there. Who else is going to be there? Who are the other sort of notable guests?
We've got Dr. Tanya Romano, who is the SkinCeuticals, I guess, whiz. So she's going to be explaining why what makes them so clinical based and what's going on. They just brought out 6 products over the last 2 years. I think.
They're owned by L'Oreal, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, they're incredible. I'm obsessed, actually. I'm convinced I'm turning back time. And then the rest to be announced, 1st of March is when our timetable's coming out.
You can't give us any clues? You can't give us any early previews?
I'll be there.
You've just got to go and find out.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, it's been wonderful to get to know you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
for
so much
bearing
for
with
having
us
me.
with our little flap around at the start where we're changing our studio around. But hopefully it wasn't a disappointment for you.
Not at all. Not at all.
And I just want to say party message for anyone that's listening. As I said at the top of the podcast in relation to your creation, this is your baby. You're not a huge multinational company. You're not an IMCAS or an AMWC. You're someone from within our community that saw the need to educate, the community of Perth. So I'd encourage anyone that's listening, like if you are looking at your conferences this year and where you're going to put your time and your energy, like support someone that's had a go, that's created a business from scratch. I think that's how we kind of all lift each other up, support each other. So check it out. Go and get your IA 20% discount.
Yes.
I think you've only got about 30 tickets left as we speak now.
Yeah,
so grab those. Quick. Yeah, demand more. Maybe we'll have to open up more spaces, but yeah.
I'll find a room.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you.
Our pleasure. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
We hope you enjoyed that episode, guys. To stay up to date with our latest news and episodes, follow us on Instagram, and we're now on TikTok.
You can also now watch our full video episodes on YouTube and Spotify. So if you like what we do, please give us a like and subscribe. Please also consider joining our Patreon for invaluable business and injectable education. Get access to our global community of like-minded professionals, hints and tips videos, bonus podcast content, and more.
All of our social links, Patreon, and contact information are in the show notes below, and we'll see you in the next episode.